Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you real quick. I want you to understand something that might hurt a little, but it's the truth. And the truth is what sets you free. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is going to wake up every morning thinking about your dreams, your bills, your goals, your pain. That responsibility belongs to you. And once you accept that, your life changes forever. See, too many people are sitting around waiting for help, waiting for a friend, waiting for a connection, waiting for motivation, waiting for the right time. Let me tell you something, waiting is the fastest way to waste your life. If you don't move when it's hard, you won't move when it's easy either. Success doesn't respond to wishes. It responds to work. You've got to understand this. Nobody feels what you feel. Nobody knows how bad you want it. Nobody loses sleep over your future the way you do. So why would you expect them to carry your burden? That's your load. And the moment you stop expecting people to help you, you become dangerous in a good way. I learned something a long time ago. Excuses sound good, but they don't pay bills. Blaming people, blaming circumstances, blaming your past, it might explain where you are, but it will never get you where you want to go. At some point, you have to stop explaining and start executing. Now listen to me carefully. Motivation is temporary. You're not always going to feel like getting up. You're not always going to feel inspired. That's why discipline matters. Discipline shows up when motivation disappears. Discipline is doing what needs to be done, even when you don't feel like it. That's how winners are built. Growth doesn't happen in comfort. Comfort feels good, but it keeps you stuck. Every level you want to reach requires a version of you that's willing to struggle, sacrifice, and stay consistent when nobody is clapping for you. And that's the part most people quit on because they want applause before progress. Let me tell you this before I sit down. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. What you need is commitment to yourself. Because if you can keep showing up, keep pushing, keep working when nobody's watching, one day people will call you lucky. But you'll know the truth. You did it yourself. Let me be honest with you, because honesty is the first step to freedom. If you're still waiting on someone to help you, you're already behind. Waiting for help keeps people stuck, disappointed, and frustrated because most of the time that help never comes. Not because people are bad, but because everyone is busy fighting their own battles. The moment you truly understand that nobody is responsible for your life except you, something powerful happens inside you. You stop complaining, you stop explaining, and you start moving. Too many people waste years expecting support before they take action. They say, if I had encouragement, I'd try. If someone believed in me, I'd start. If I had resources, I'd work harder. But let me tell you something real. Belief comes after results, not before them. Nobody claps for potential. They clap for progress. If you sit around waiting for approval, you'll grow old waiting. Self-reliance is not being selfish. It's being serious about your future. When you stop expecting help, you stop feeling disappointed. Disappointment comes from expectations placed on other people. You thought they would show up. You thought they would support you. You thought they would understand. But when you accept that this journey is yours alone, your mindset shifts. You wake up differently. You work differently. You stop asking, who's going to help me? And start asking, what can I do today with what I have? See, hunger changes everything. When you rely on yourself, you tap into a level of hunger that comfort can never produce. You push harder because you know there's no backup plan. There's no safety net. You are the plan. And when you become the plan, excuses lose their power. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need everyone on your side. You just need the courage to start where you are. People love to say they're waiting for motivation, but motivation doesn't build success, responsibility does. When you take full responsibility for your life, you stop giving power to circumstances and people. You stop saying, they didn't help me, and start saying, I'll figure it out. That mindset is the difference between people who talk about change and people who actually change. Understand this, no one owes you belief. No one owes you support. No one owes you a chance. Life doesn't work that way. And once you stop expecting handouts, emotional or physical, you become stronger. You stop breaking every time someone lets you down because your strength no longer comes from people. It comes from within. Self-reliance builds confidence. Every time you solve a problem on your own, you prove something to yourself. You start trusting your ability to handle pressure, failure, and uncertainty. You realize you're capable of more than you thought, and that confidence compounds. It grows every time you show up for yourself when no one else does. Let me tell you something important. The people you admire didn't get there because everyone helped them. They got there because they kept going when no one cared. Long before the applause, there were lonely mornings, silent struggles, and unanswered prayers. They didn't wait for support to arrive. They worked until support had no choice but to notice. When you stop waiting for help, you stop giving away control of your future. You stop delaying your destiny. You stop living in excuses and start living in action. And action, repeated daily, is what changes lives. Nobody is coming to rescue you. And that's not bad news. That's the best news you'll ever hear, because it means your success is in your hands. Let me tell you something most people don't like to hear. Nobody feels your hunger the way you do. Nobody wakes up with your fears, your dreams, or your pressure sitting on their chest. Other people can listen, they can nod, they can even encourage you. But when it's time to act, when it's time to sacrifice, when it's time to suffer a little to get better, that part is on you. And once you accept that truth, you stop expecting others to carry what was never theirs to carry. People often get discouraged because they think, if this really mattered, someone would help me. But that's not how life works. The things that matter most to you usually matter least to everyone else. Your dream is personal. Your pain is personal. Your goals are personal. That's why the hunger has to come from inside. External support is nice, but internal drive is necessary. If you don't want it bad enough to pursue it alone, you don't want it bad enough, period. See, hunger is what gets you out of bed when motivation is gone. Hunger is what keeps you moving when nobody is watching and nobody is clapping. When you're truly hungry, you don't need reminders. You don't need pressure. You don't need approval. You move because staying still hurts more than trying. And that level of hunger can't be borrowed from anyone else. You have to feel it for yourself. The problem is, many people numb their hunger with comfort. They get just enough to survive, just enough to get by, just enough to stay stuck. Comfort is dangerous because it convinces you that you're okay when you're actually settling. Hunger disappears when you become too comfortable. And once hunger disappears, progress stops. Growth requires a certain level of discomfort, a certain level of dissatisfaction with where you are. Nobody else can give you that fire. You can listen to speeches, watch videos, read books. But when it's time to do the work, hunger is the only thing that shows up with you. Talent won't carry you. Luck won't save you. People won't stay forever. Hunger is what keeps pushing you forward when everything else fades away. You have to stop expecting people to understand your urgency. They don't feel the clock ticking the way you do. They don't feel the regret you'll feel if you quit. They don't feel the consequences of staying the same. So waiting for them to move with your pace is unfair to them and to yourself. Your journey has its own rhythm, and your hunger sets the speed. Some days you're going to feel alone. That doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It means you're walking a path that requires strength. Great change is usually lonely at first. The crowd shows up later, after the results. Before that, it's just you, your hunger, and your decision to keep going. When you truly understand that no one feels your hunger like you do, you stop wasting energy explaining yourself. You stop begging for support. You stop shrinking your dreams to make others comfortable. You protect your focus. You guard your time. You move quietly and consistently because you know what's at stake. Hunger sharpens your priorities. You stop doing things that don't matter. You stop entertaining distractions. You stop delaying what you know you should be doing. And when hunger leads, discipline follows. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You create momentum with imperfect action. At the end of the day, your hunger is your responsibility. Feed it with purpose, not excuses. Use it to push through fear, doubt, and fatigue. Because when hunger is real, quitting is no longer an option. Let me say this clearly, because somebody needs to hear it today. Excuses don't stop the clock. Time doesn't care about your reasons, your past, or what you've been through. Every day you delay, life keeps moving. And while you're explaining why you couldn't start, someone else is building the future you keep talking about. That's why excuses are so dangerous. They make you feel justified while they quietly steal your destiny. Most excuses sound reasonable. That's why people hold on to them. You say you don't have enough time, but the truth is you don't have clear priorities. You say you don't have enough resources, but the truth is you haven't fully used what's already in your hands. You say you're waiting for the right moment, but the truth is there is no perfect moment. The perfect moment is always now, even when now feels uncomfortable. Excuses give people permission to stay the same. They become a shield against fear, failure, and responsibility. As long as you have an excuse, you don't have to risk being disappointed. You don't have to test yourself. You don't have to find out what you're really capable of. But comfort has a cost, and that cost is growth. Every excuse you accept pushes your potential further away. Let me tell you something real. Everyone has a story. Everyone has problems. Everyone has days when quitting feels easier than continuing. The difference between successful people and stuck people is not pain. It's accountability. Successful people hold themselves responsible even when life isn't fair. They don't wait for conditions to improve. They improve themselves under the conditions they're given. When you blame circumstances, you give them power over your future. When you blame people, you hand them control of your progress. But when you take ownership, even of things that weren't your fault, you take back your power. Responsibility is not about blame, it's about control. And you can't control what you won't own. Excuses also weaken discipline. Every time you let yourself off the hook, it becomes easier to do it again. Quitting becomes familiar. Delay becomes normal. And before you know it, months turn into years. You wake up one day wondering how time passed so fast and why your life looks the same. That's not because you lacked ability. It's because excuses became a habit. Discipline doesn't wait for feelings. It moves based on commitment. It says, I don't feel like it, but I'm going to do it anyway. That's the mindset that builds results. You don't need to feel confident to take action. Confidence is built by keeping promises to yourself. And every time you choose action over excuses, you strengthen that muscle. Fear often hides behind excuses. Fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of starting over. But fear loses its power when you move toward it instead of running from it. Action exposes fear for what it really is, a feeling, not a fact. And feelings change when you refuse to let them decide your future. Let me be clear. Your past may explain where you are, but it cannot excuse where you stay. What happened to you is not your fault, but what you do next is your responsibility. Growth begins the moment you stop asking, why me? And start asking, what now? Every excuse you drop creates space for progress. Every step you take, even a small one, puts you ahead of where you were yesterday. You don't need to fix your whole life today. You just need to stop lying to yourself about why you haven't started. Because the moment excuses end, movement begins, and movement changes everything. Let me tell you something about motivation that most people misunderstand. Motivation is a feeling, and feelings come and go. Some days you wake up fired up, ready to conquer the world. Other days you wake up tired, frustrated, and unsure of yourself. If your progress depends on how you feel, your results will always be inconsistent. That's why motivation alone will never take you where you want to go. Discipline is what carries you when motivation disappears. Discipline is doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel like doing it. It's showing up on the days when quitting feels reasonable. It's staying committed when there's no excitement left, when the work feels repetitive, and when results are slow. Discipline doesn't care about moods. It operates on decisions. Once you decide who you want to become, discipline handles the daily actions required to get there. Most people wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. But readiness is a myth. Confidence is built through action, not before it. You don't become disciplined by thinking about discipline. You become disciplined by practicing it one choice at a time. Small, consistent actions may not feel impressive, but they are powerful. They compound quietly until one day the results speak for themselves. Motivation is loud at the beginning. It gets you excited about starting something new. Discipline is quiet. It doesn't announce itself, it just keeps going. When motivation fades, discipline takes over. And that's where real progress begins. Anybody can start strong. Very few people can stay consistent. Consistency is the true test of character. Discipline also creates freedom, even though it feels restrictive at first. When you control your habits stop controlling you. You stop being a slave to procrastination, distraction, and excuses. You gain confidence because you trust yourself to do what you said you would do. That self-trust is priceless. It affects how you show up in every area of your life. A lack of discipline is not about lack of ability. It's about lack of structure. People fail not because they can't do the work, but because they don't create systems that support consistency. Discipline thrives on routine. When you remove decision-making from your day and replace it with habits, you reduce the chances of quitting. You don't argue with yourself every morning, you just execute. Let's be honest. Discipline is uncomfortable. It requires sacrifice. It asks you to choose long-term rewards over short-term pleasure. While others are relaxing, you're working. While others are making excuses, you're building skills. That discomfort is the price of growth, and every level of success demands a new level of discipline. Discipline also protects your focus. In a world full of distractions, the ability to stay locked in is a superpower. Discipline helps you say no to things that don't serve your purpose, not because they're bad, but because they're unnecessary. Focused effort over time creates mastery, and mastery creates opportunities. When you rely on discipline instead of motivation, you stop depending on external factors. You don't need perfect conditions. You don't need constant encouragement. You become self-driven. You do the work because it aligns with who you are becoming, not because someone is watching. The truth is, motivation may start the journey, but discipline finishes it. And when you build discipline into your life, you stop being a person who tries and start being a person who delivers. Let me tell you something about comfort that nobody warns you about. Comfort feels good, but it slowly shuts your life down. It makes you settle without realizing you're settling. It convinces you that where you are is good enough, even when deep down you know you were meant for more. Comfort doesn't challenge you, doesn't stretch you, and doesn't demand anything from you. And that's exactly why it's so dangerous. Growth never happens in a comfortable place. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable, uncertain, and sometimes afraid. Every new level of your life will require you to leave something familiar behind. You can't grow and stay the same at the same time. One of them has to go. And most people choose comfort because growth asks for effort, sacrifice, and patience. Comfort tells you to wait. Growth tells you to move. Comfort tells you not to risk embarrassment. Growth tells you embarrassment is temporary, but regret lasts forever. Comfort whispers, "You're fine where you are." Growth asks, "Is this really all you're capable of?" That question makes people uncomfortable, so they avoid it. But avoiding it doesn't make it go away. When you step out of your comfort zone, you expose yourself to failure, criticism, and uncertainty. That's why most people don't do it. They'd rather stay in a situation they don't like than risk something unknown. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar progress. But staying comfortable comes with a hidden cost, stagnation. And stagnation slowly drains your confidence, your ambition, and your belief in yourself. Every skill you want to build will make you uncomfortable first. Every new habit will feel awkward at the beginning. Every change will challenge your identity. That discomfort is not a sign that something is wrong. It's a sign that something is working. Muscles grow by being stretched. Minds grow by being challenged. Lives grow by being disrupted. Comfort also creates excuses. You start telling yourself stories about why now isn't the right time, why you're not ready, why it's risky. But growth has never waited for perfect timing. Growth responds to courage. The courage to try before you feel ready. The courage to look foolish before you look skilled. The courage to struggle before you succeed. Let me be clear, comfort is addictive. Once you get used to it, anything that threatens it feels like danger. That's why people defend their comfort zones so fiercely. They protect routines that no longer serve them. They stay around people who keep them small. They choose short-term ease over long-term fulfillment. And years later, they wonder why they feel unfulfilled. Growth demands a decision to be uncomfortable on purpose, A decision to do hard things now so life can be easier later. That decision separates those who change their lives from those who only talk about change. You don't accidentally grow. You choose it again and again. Stepping out of comfort doesn't mean everything will suddenly work. It means you'll struggle in new ways. But those struggles build strength. They teach you resilience. They show you what you're capable of when you stop hiding behind safety. Each uncomfortable step builds confidence, not because it's easy, but because you survived it. Comfort keeps you protected. Growth makes you powerful. Comfort keeps you dreaming. Growth makes you doing. The life you want is not hiding in comfort. It's waiting on the other side of it. And the moment you stop choosing what feels easy and start choosing what makes you better, everything begins to change. Let me tell you something about consistency that separates ordinary lives from extraordinary ones. Consistency is not exciting. It's not loud. It doesn't get attention in the beginning. Most people quit because they don't see immediate results and they assume what they're doing isn't working. But consistency is working even when nothing seems to be happening. It's building something under the surface long before it shows on the outside. Talent gets praised, but consistency gets results. You can be talented and still fail if you're inconsistent. You can be average and win if you show up every day. Consistency is about repetition, doing the right things over and over again, especially on the days you don't feel like it. Those days matter more than the good ones. Anybody can perform when they're inspired. Winners perform when they're tired. Most people overestimate what they can do in a day and underestimate what they can do in a year. They want instant transformation, instant success, instant validation. When it doesn't happen fast, they quit. Consistency asks for patience. It asks you to trust the process even when progress feels invisible. That trust is what most people lack. Consistency also builds identity. When you repeatedly act in alignment with your goals, you stop seeing those actions as effort and start seeing them as who you are. You're not trying. Anymore, you're becoming. That shift changes everything. You don't rely on willpower forever. You build habits that carry you forward automatically. The hardest part of consistency is boredom. Doing the same thing every day doesn't feel heroic. There are no fireworks in discipline. But boredom is where mastery lies. When you can stay committed without excitement, without praise, without quick rewards, you unlock a level of growth most people never reach. Consistency compounds. Small actions done daily stack up faster than big actions done occasionally. A little progress every day may feel insignificant, but over time it creates massive change. Miss one day and it doesn't ruin you. Miss often and it becomes a pattern. Patterns shape outcomes. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. People fail not because they lack ability, but because they stop. They stop showing up. They stop practicing. They stop believing because results take longer than expected. Consistency keeps you in the game long enough for improvement to catch up with effort. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to keep going. Consistency also builds mental toughness. Each day you follow through, you prove to yourself that you can be trusted. That self-trust becomes confidence. And confidence makes pressure easier to handle. You stop panicking when things move slowly because you know who you are, and what you do, you show up. Let me tell you this, success is rarely one big moment. It's a series of small, uncelebrated decisions made daily. Decisions to work instead of scroll, to practice instead of procrastinate, to stay focused instead of distracted. Those decisions don't look impressive in the moment, but they shape your future. When you commit to consistency, you remove drama from progress. You don't chase motivation. You don't wait for perfect conditions. You build a rhythm and protect it. And over time, that rhythm carries you farther than bursts of effort ever could. Consistency is not about speed. It's about direction. As long as you're moving forward, even slowly, you're winning. And the people who refuse to quit, who keep showing up when it's boring and hard, are the ones who eventually become unstoppable.